All right. Thanks again for joining today. Today in the webinar, we'll be covering front-end editability of unit costs and inventory audit imports. Again, appreciate your time joining today. We do have the ability to answer questions live during the webinar today. To submit those questions, you'll see the chat box on the right side. Just click there and you can drop any questions that pertain to the webinar. Please try and refrain from unrelated questions at this time. We'd like to keep them targeted to this demonstration. We do welcome any feedback on the functionality and any things that may help you better improve your workflows. Also, if you have comments, you can email us at am@mjfreeway.com. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and hand it over to Seth to start walking through workflows for you.
So we're looking at the inventory audit import today, and then also the cost adjustment. We have cost corrections in front, but I'll do the inventory audit first, just because I have a feeling we'll have more questions on the cost stuff and more interaction. So we previously did a webinar on just the inventory audit, which anybody can reference. The idea is that you can, scan or paste barcodes in, put in a count, and then this is a blind count. And then it ends up giving you a spreadsheet. In this case, the main column we're looking at is E, the physical count. Really, the first couple columns here are the only thing that matter, really the package code, location, and physical count. And there's several reasons for putting this into a spreadsheet instead of doing it live, like an audit plus live adjustment on the front end. Just because if an audit takes 3 hours or an hour, and stuff gets sold, then there's a lot of complexity that comes in there. And this spreadsheet audit, this tells you if stuff's been sold also from the time you started the audit to the time you're currently, working on it or export it. So you can see if stuff's been sold. That said, we also do have a page for the actual adjustments to take place. And finally, we've married up the two pieces of functionality. So this is a page where you can go to your individual categories, flour category, concentrate category, and so on. And you can search items in here and change quantities, hit adjust, select reasons, one thing at a time. And what we're doing now is the ability to upload, just really quickly, that spreadsheet. So basically the idea is upload, and I have the spreadsheet that I've just downloaded today, and then that just automatically loads it with these obviously hugely discrepancy laden quantities, but it will load the whole thing. And then there's a overall universal reason now that you can select individuals, of course, and you can do notes. And if you put notes on the audit, they come over to here. So you could technically have somebody on the blind count side doing a note, and then somebody, if they're different, like a manager, uploading here and doing additional notes. So both sides can note their stuff. And then there's a one adjust all. So the idea is to be able to utilize that audit import, or that audit function, that audit spreadsheet, CSV, in order to fill out these fields without having to type into every one of them. So limited clicks to get a big adjustment done. Now, the other thing on here is, I'll refresh the page, get rid of that. You don't actually have to use the audit function. So you can download a template, and like we saw, it's the first couple columns are the operative columns. So it will look just like this. So if you imported something with only the first 5 columns having data, that's going to work just fine, because that's what the download template is. So if you do your inventory somewhere else and you can throw a macro together or cut and paste or whatever, you can get it into a spot where you can upload very quickly into the audit, into the adjustment page in that way too. So that's the inventory audit import. And now we're going to look at costs. So the two places we'll look at cost adjustments are on the supply chain and also then in inventory. And the reason these happen in different places, these are, as anyone that's looked in the BI and the reporting, there's different reporting for your purchase orders and inventory receipts and the cost of items there, you know, versus your transactions tables, which show things that are like cost of goods sold. So the cost of things that are actually sold at the point of sale. And being two different tables, adjusting things in one place doesn't adjust them in others. Now, most of the time, and you know, Miles has a great knowledge base article on both of these, and there's best practices in here for cost adjustment. But just know that adjusting the cost on an inventory receipt, for instance, does not adjust the cost of the package in inventory. That's on a different table. So you have both of those that are options, and you can do just one of them, but there's most cases, you know, from all the use cases we've looked at, it's correct. You're probably correcting both of them. And so basically in here, you see not a lot new, no buttons or anything, but if we go to edit, this is why this button changed from reassign to edit, because now the edit button allows you to reassign, but also it allows for cost adjustment. And like when you see, this is a price per gram, the best example for Pennsylvania retail, of course. So we'll look at a newer one that I think has pre-pack. Yeah, and here's pre-pack. So this is what came in. Now what you'll see here is the ability to adjust the price per gram and the ability to adjust the unit cost. Now this is a 1 gram unit, so it's very easy to see the changes because this is like both of them. You know, 1 gram and price per gram. So like this is at a $4 gram. So on the pre-packs, and the knowledge base goes over this, but on the pre-packs, you want to adjust the unit price, and then you can have, you know, different unit prices for different pre-packs. If you're factoring in like costs and supplies and stuff. And so if I change this to a $10 gram and then hit calculate, you can see right away that's changed here. Now that hasn't changed here yet, but it will. And what this has also done is has changed. Where is my number? All right, so the purchase order that created this transfer and then on the purchase order, we'll see that adjustment should have taken place here. Oh, duh. Okay. So what not to do is to change this field and then not save the inventory receipt. Getting a little ahead of myself. So that changes it on the UI, and then saving it pushes it to the database. Now, actually, I have no item here. So in the end, you'll save this. I've pulled up a bad inventory receipt, and then it will then it will go to the purchase order, and it'll change both the costs on the purchase order. And then coming back here, it will show, if we refresh this page, it'll show the grid. The grid from the purchase order items requested will also be updated to the $10 gram. Apologies for the bad inventory receipt, but that's the general idea. So you're editing, new cost, hit calc, and then resave the inventory receipt. That will update the inventory receipt and the purchase order. And then for updating a package in inventory itself, a couple scenarios that could happen here. Like there could maybe be a cost problem that's identified immediately. And then at that point, you're just coming and adjusting the package cost. Or it could be found days later after sales have happened on this with this package. And that's really just a difference in the checkbox. So for instance, I could set this to a $15 unit cost. Now, if I check this box here, this will, on the transactions table, change all the historic item costs, unit costs of this package also. So like if you brought in an inventory receipt and then sold 20 of them across a few days and then found the issue and changed it on the receipt and changed it here, you'd want to check this box so that those previous 20 transactions got the updated COGS, cost of goods sold. Now, even though on the supply chain piece, there is the edit button that it works for both packages as well as, or changing the item master, package reassign, as well as the costing. Those aren't, we recognize those aren't always the same roles. So, the kind of idea is there's no extra user permission for reassigning packages, because if someone's able to do a purchase order or an inventory receipt, then they're able to correct it. But not the case with costs. So what you'll also see in here is a couple cost permissions. We'll see inventory receipt package costs. And then there's just the package costs. So you can have somebody, and we have this in the knowledge base too, but like in this case, they would only be able to edit receipts, and in this case, only package costs. And in this case, they could still hit that edit button, but not be able to adjust any costs at all. So you have control over who can modify costs as well. And that's about it there. And I think we can move to questions.
Yeah, so the first question we have is, when you edit the unit price or price per gram in the inventory receipt, will that data transfer over to the unit cost column in the current inventory report via the sales report tab?
It should. Let's take a look. So this will give us a chance to actually find a receipt that works too. So I'll make sure we have one that's not half done. Our most recent one. All right, we have a location. All right, so we'll change this one. And edit, we'll change it from 5 to 10. Get this package ID on my clipboard, calculate it, save it, confirm. Oh, they don't packages there. Okay. Looks like it does not, so we will have to address that. It will update in the BI, but we'll do a follow-up and look at this one.
Yeah, and so just for everybody's knowledge, this is code complete, but we are waiting on approval to release this into the closed loop in PA. So it may be a week or two before it's released. We'll ask you to keep an eye on your emails and banners within the app before it goes live. This is one that Seth's team can take a look at before go live. So hopefully we can get that updated. Next question, will checking the box change all previous transactions? So,
yeah. Adjustments, sales, yes.
All right. Then we have, would this edit function allow for different batches to have different prices?
Yes, absolutely. Different packages.
All right. And so far, that's it that we have. We did get a clarification that they were asking to utilize that for menu drops. And then we have
a menu drop. How? I mean, because you're probably not putting your purchase costs, your like cost of goods sold, on a patient-facing menu.
If you had that response, if you could drop a clarifier, or you can reach out to me at either am@mjfreeway.com or robin.petty@mjfreeway.com. I'd be happy to take a look at your use case and make sure we're taking care of you.
Yeah.
We did get one more come in. Will this allow different product masters and the same batch to have different prices?
Well,
so I think this is the kind of the samples split out question.
Yeah, and that was one investigative piece I was going to do. So if you have different package IDs, then yes, the batch is really just kind of a data point of the package that doesn't actually hold any information. I mean, except the batch number and the traceability, but you don't have like for instance, the cost, the vendor, all that stuff is attached to the package distinctly versus the batch. So the package doesn't need to inherit anything, any data points from the batch. So if you had two packages, like let's say you split a package under the same batch, both of those could have different costs. And then if you have, two different packages under two different items with the same batch, then that can also have different costs. It's just all about the package number being a different package period.
They're asking if you can explain how to split a package for that purpose.
So you just go here. This is what we've done a bunch of times with this one. So you just go like to this package and then split. And then you'd put how much you want into that new split. So for instance, if you had like 100 units and you wanted 10 packs, you could do quantity per split here and then number of splits 10, and this would create 10 new packages under that same item and under the same batch.
Okay, I think this is maybe where terminology clarification would help. They're asking, can we split a package that has different product masters?
Well, one package, there shouldn't be a case where you have one package.
Yes, I think if you explain what a package in MJ Freeway is, that'd probably be helpful.
Oh, so like this package ID here, that's kind of, so item master, and then there's the batch, and then under the batch we can have multiple packages, and the packages are what hold the quantities. And the packages are where the cost ends up. And so like, for instance, this is a 13 dog. All of these are 13 dog 1 gram pre-packs, and each of these could have a different unit cost.
Okay. And then we got some clarification on the menu drop. They said through iHeartJane, this is good information for us, by the way. They're instructed to drop the entire export, including all columns, and they Jane doubles the unit cost to show MSRP. So that's helpful. Thank you for that.
That's not going to fly. All right, so we're going to do QA test pre-pack. I'll get this 2 tabs going. QA test pre-pack here, a bunch of packages. All right, so put this on the clipboard, modify. I don't think it really failed. So we'll do 11 here. And then find, okay, so we're at 10 there. Let me refresh it. And we're at 11. So package cost changes the current inventory report, which is logical because this isn't a sales order report or a inventory receipt report. So sorry about that brain fart. So it's gonna work for Jane.
All good. And we did have one more question come in, Seth.
Oh, sweet.
And I think this is kind of along the lines of a few questions we have. So I don't know if you have the system set up where you could demo this and how it would work or not. Maybe that would be helpful. But the question is, would this new function allow for utilizing multiple tiers, separate batches and package IDs under one product master to have separate prices?
No, unfortunately not. Not to have separate prices. This is only costs. So cost being what we pay for it, price being what we sell it for. But I do understand the request, right? Because it's like if you have like an item and then it's, old, you might want to discount that package, like that batch of that item, even though you might have multiple batches. We've had this request, but that would be like, either bringing pricing down to the package level or allowing package price overrides. Might not be a bad feature, package price overrides. But yeah, no, it definitely is not a doable right now, unfortunately.
Had one more come in. Can you confirm that the unit cost bug that causes zero cost and inflated incorrect cost should be fixed now?
Would depend on the workflow. I mean, so we've addressed this a couple times. The most recent time, which was not that recent, it was a bit ago. But what we found was still sharing. Okay, good. So okay. Now, of course, we have like the sales order and the transfer. This is the sender. Everybody all knows this, right? And then the purchase order, inventory, receipt. So what was happening was for a minute, up until I think at least like a month ago, it was when we fixed this. So it's not terribly recent, maybe 2 months. But the purchase order, okay, when you would supply chain map, you know, you have an incoming sales order. This is like forever ago, so it's not going to work. But you have a sales order or you have an incoming transfer, and the system knows what items are on this and what item costs were on this. So this is like somebody you may have never seen in your life, right? Sending you something. I mean, not likely, but like this is another organization sending stuff and they put costs on it. And then, and I mean, I know how this happens, and this is part of one of the efforts we have in, we'll talk about, but so this is transferred. Then somebody creates a purchase order. Never mind this button because we haven't had permission to turn this on for you yet. But so then you'll make a purchase order, and then your purchase order might have different prices on it or costs on it than what the transfer has prices, simply because we don't handle line item discounts well, like at all on the purchase order. So if you get discounts, then the price here isn't the same as what's coming in here. And so originally what was happening, or was happening for a while, was when you would map this and select your purchase order, this also won't work, it was pulling the cost from the transfer, which might not have been the cost like you wanted, even though that's what you paid for it, right? Like with the discounts and stuff. It wasn't pulling the cost from the purchase order that you just entered. So that was changed to where no longer is it pulling the cost from someone you've never met to the purchase order cost that you just put into your system. That's what pulls into this supply chain transferring now. Of course, that can be edited then again when we receive it. But that's the last. And so like if people leave zeros here because they do their accounting somewhere else, you know, those zeros would transfer in even though you would put your desired price on your own purchase order. So we started making it so that the supply chain inventory receipt always inherits from the purchase order versus the transfer. Another problem that was happening was this, we fixed this before the issue I just been talking about, but Joseph fixed a while ago the issue that when somebody would do zeros on the transfer, right, they would send zeros just because they're doing accounting somewhere else. Well, that would fill into the database as a null value instead of a zero, which are pretty different when it comes to like wanting to edit. You can't edit a null, but you can edit a zero. So we had to change those values that we're filling in as null to zeros, and then they could be edited over here when you brought the stuff in. So those are the two issues that we have fixed. So we need to see the workflow kind of where it's coming in wrong. And then the effort, should probably do some voting on some of these actually, Robin, but like, you know, because we have like, I mean, package price overrides is a good feature. What else is a good feature is actually having line item discounting on the purchase orders and sales or purchase orders and transfers, so we could like more accurately reflect the supply chain end cost versus just the front cost. Supply chain line items. And I only mention that because then, you know, these what somebody sells it to you for could have discounts on here, then that could directly line up to the purchase order. But either way, it's always going to pull, the supply chain is always going to pull from the purchase order that you've created versus the transfer that was sent.
And we had one other question come in asking for a reminder on which permissions need to be selected to edit the cost in the inventory tab, or edit and modify. If you could just go back and show that one more time.
Yeah. Now the admins, because admins are admins, and hopefully not everybody's an admin, the admins get this automatically, but I know sometimes people have to be admins for other reasons. But like admins get this automatically, but nobody else gets this automatically. And so we just like strip out some of these. So it's there's the inventory receipt package costs, and then there's just the package costs. Because the cost is always at the package. So saying inventory receipt package cost might be a little redundant, but that's what we're adjusting. And so there's these two permissions.
Great. Well, that's it for questions. Again, I appreciate everybody's time today. We will be posting the webinars for your review online. If you need that link, you can reach out to me at robin.petty@mjfreeway.com, and I'll be happy to set you up with the link for the webinars. And that's all we've got for you today. Appreciate your time, everyone. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, everyone.